In this video, I'm going to show you how to beautifully fade an image into a background in Photoshop, and this is coming up. Hi everybody, Innocent here and welcome to the channel. Over here we make videos like this. If that is something that sounds like you're interested, kindly consider subscribing. Very recently I posted a video about how to download PSD freebies, and one of the flyers that I used was this one. And if you look at this flyer carefully from here, you'd realize that after turning off, let's say, this summer party test, you realize that the image here has been faded nicely into the background. How do you achieve this? So I have a beautiful model here. I got this picture from pexels.com, and then let's assume that you want to replace this particular model's picture with this one right over here. So of course the first thing we need to do is get rid of this background. So if you are using something like Photoshop 2021, you can easily go to select and then select subject over here. You can press Ctrl+Shift+I to invert the selection, and then you can delete, and then your background is removed. Now we want to replace this image over here. You can add a bit of levels to it, adjust the levels like this, and then we want to replace the image over here. So we will come to the model's image, and then we are going to close that or just hide it. Now we want to bring this model, this second model, into the image, so we bring it right over here. Now this already looks very beautiful. It looks nicely done, and then you can see the edges here. The AI subject selection is just amazing. Gets Photoshop 2021. So we are going to get rid of the other ones, and this is the image, so we can transform it out a little bit if you want to. And one mistake that I've seen people do is using the eraser tool. The first step is using the eraser tool. Of course, you can use the eraser tool to do it. If you choose your eraser tool, right click and then set your hardness to 0%, you should be able to do this. Now the disadvantage to using the eraser tool is that after a couple of attempts, you'll not be able to go back like this. So when, for instance, you do something like this and after you close Photoshop, you realize that this isn't really looking good for you, you cannot go back. And that is the reason, the only reason why using the eraser tool isn't perfect. But then of course, if you feel like you can just get it once and for all, it is good. So what is the alternative to using the eraser tool? The best way to do it is adding a layer mask. So you add a layer mask to your image, and using the layer mask, we have two simple approaches. The first one is using the gradient. So for instance, once you add your layer mask, you go into your gradients over here, and then you go into the gradient bar and you choose this gradient with the fading. So you click OK over here, and then once you come to this point, for instance, you can start from here and then be fading it off like that. So something like this. I personally don't really like using this because though it looks nice, but it doesn't give you like a lot of options. So you can use it one after the other, and then you fade it off. Now you realize from here that even if you close Photoshop and then open it back, once you right click on this layer mask and then you choose disable layer mask, you can still have your image back and then probably try to reapply different effect to it. And that is why using the layer mask is most often the best option for fading images into the background. So once we enable it, this is what we have. Now if you're using the gradient to be a problem for you, you don't have a problem. Once you add your layer mask, you can go for the brush tool, and then you can make sure that your foreground color is set to black, and then you can easily brush it off or brush the parts that you don't want off. Now comparing this to using the gradient, you realize that this gives you more flexibility and more options, and you can paint exactly where you want to paint it. One tip is you don't have to make your circle very small like this. You actually need to make it bigger like this, and then you don't brush in something like this. You brush it from afar like that if you want to have the very smooth fading into the background. Now the beautiful thing about fading your images, the edges of your images into the background, is even if you don't like this background, for instance, and then you add a different background, let's say a gradient, like let's choose this particular one here, like this, you definitely realize that it automatically fades into the background very nicely. Let's choose something more pinky. It automatically fades into the background, and then by using layer mask you can basically brush out the parts that has faded too much into it. So to do that, you select your layer mask, and then you make sure that your foreground color has been switched to white. You can use X on your keyboard to do that, and then you make sure that this time around the brush is small, not that big, and then you can brush this part because you realize that it has gone into a bit, so you can brush all of the parts that you want it back on, something like this, and then you can use the X again to switch it and then brush all these parts that you don't want. So after this, and then let's say you add your other information to it, this is what you have. Now you can even go ahead and add some hue and saturation to brighten up your image if you don't want to use the background that is already in this video. Yeah, so that is basically how to fade images into the background, and by using the layer mask you have more options to redo it in future, just in case you come back later on, you come back and you realize that you don't want this. You can easily change it as compared to using the eraser tool. Now if you want to see how to download free premium PSD files like this one, like I used in this video, you can check out this video. And if you want to learn more about layer mask, you can check this video also out. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, subscribe to the channel will be so very much appreciated. Thank you so very much for sticking around to watch this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's Innocent here, and bye.